Hey, what's up, you guys? Bloody Jacob here to give you my thoughts on the return of Godzilla, otherwise known as Godzilla 1985, which was released in 1985 in the US anyway, with the original cut, the Japanese version, coming out in 84. And of course, if you guys don't know, I am a big Godzilla fan. I have been a lifelong diehard Godzilla fan since I was a baby. And I've been meaning for a long time to just do more Godzilla videos in general, which I've tried to do more over the past couple of years, because Godzilla is still probably my main passion in life, if I'm being honest, and I always wear it on my sleeve. Um, now, me and this entry particularly have an interesting relationship. I remember really liking it as a kid. I would go across the street and rent, the American 85 version. Then when I watched it when I was a bit older, I was honestly kind of lukewarm on it. I have been kind of lukewarm on it for the past number of years. Um, Always appreciating like it kind of reset the tone, a decade or so after the Showa era ended. Um, but having some drawbacks and just sort of like, again, just kind of lukewarm, sort of duller feelings towards it. But in watching it now, I'm glad my opinion has shifted a little bit again into something more positive. I honestly think this is very close to being a perfect Godzilla movie, and one I enjoyed quite a bit. Um, Excuse me, dog's right next to me. Like I said, it does a good job of bringing back like a sense of serious and not stakes necessarily, but just the more foreboding and heavy nature of what Godzilla's supposed to represent, while also, being an entertaining monster movie in certain scenes, giant monster movie in certain scenes too. It feels like a nice middle between, a movie like 1954's Gojira and like some of the crazier entries later in the High C series, which this kicked off. It felt like it was trying to do the more of a updated Gojira thing again, while still kind of delivering a bit more, sci-fi action, like audiences would want by that point. And I think it was a good middle, a good compromise between both of those. While still this movie kind of fitting alongside movies like Gojira and even Minus One, more recently. And honestly, between those three, the Return of Godzilla here might be my favorite. I don't know. But we can do a full ranking of the franchise later. Um, Even the human performances here are all pretty competent all around. Again, I watched the original Japanese version. I do think that's the better one. Although Raymond Burr's inclusion in it is, it's a nice novelty. When you look at the American cut of the original Gojira as well. But the Japanese version here is definitely the best. Um, there's some like sounds added in the American one that are pretty good, and otherwise it's just like random other little edits. And it's shorter. I like the extended version here. Um, the Godzilla suit, I think, is this isn't really the best look at it on the poster. Honestly, I'm not that crazy about the poster. The suit itself, I really like though. Um, it's different, and it has like that kind of classic, almost still like Showa look to it, but then a bit of a meaner appearance and a meaner edge to it. So I think they did well with that as well. But my issue with the movie that I do still have is, as good as the suit looks and as much as I like the suit, they shift between using that and an animatronic, which is kind of what's on the poster here. Um, an animatronic for like close up shots and roars and some of the atomic ray shots too. And I do not like the animatronic nearly as much. I think it looks silly in certain shots. I get why they'd want to go for some more like intricate movements and stuff like that with his face, but they still managed to do some of that with his suit. So I really don't think it was that necessary. Uh, it doesn't look the worst on the poster, but there are just certain moments in the film where it looks a little silly, or his neck looks like really thin. Um, Luckily, that's only like sprinkled throughout, but it does take me out of the movie a bit whenever it appears on screen. Um, Other than that, though, like I said, there are actually competent human performances in this movie. There's actually some pretty good commentary on the usage of nuclear weapons, tying back to the original kind of message of the film, of the franchise. I mean, there's good, kind of mature discussions done and focused on about, them talking to the U.S. and Russia and everything else about, possibly using nuclear weapons and what Godzilla's threat could mean to them and what they should do to unite about that. So I thought that was actually handled very, very maturely, especially for the mid '80s, at a time when tensions were escalating in some different ways. And again, all the actors there, I think, were actually all pretty good. There are some lesser experienced Americans in some of the meetings there that are kind of silly to hear. But yeah, otherwise, that's definitely a strong point in the movie too. This is very much a Godzilla versus military movie. Some people don't like those as much. I think it's good, to kind of mix it up. And all those scenes are very good. Again, I love the suit. The city looks very good. The sets and everything. The miniatures. Toho always knew how to do those. There's like a super kind of weapon, ship vehicle type thing called the Super X, which is pretty good. It's not. I don't think it's a memorable villain in the franchise per se, but it was something a little bit more to bolster like it just being a Godzilla military movie. And the ending with them being them using that magnetic tech to as Godzilla followed the birds, which I thought was a great shot in the movie, by the way. They use that sort of same sense he has to drop it into a volcano, which again is then followed by how Godzilla vs. Biollante starts a few years after this one. And yeah, there's some really nice shots of Godzilla's mean mug, essentially, and he feels fierce and cool. And again, they really brought back the tone of him. And I always thought the high sea was a really good compromise between serious and sort of just outlandish tales. And it's nice that the high sea version of Godzilla actually has an arc, a genuine arc in the movies. They're not. I'm not saying they have this like deep rooted. Really in it, continuity, but enough to know it's the same version of Godzilla and that this leads Godzilla vs. Destroya. It's pretty fucking cool to me. So yeah, we get to see this Godzilla develop a little bit. And yeah, I think this is a great, very, very solid in pretty much every regard Godzilla flick. I do think it's a bit overlooked these days, although Godzilla fandom does tend to hold it fairly high, and I'm glad to be on that positive end of it again. But yeah, if I'd rate it, I'm giving it an A-. The only thing really holding it back is just that damn animatronic. But I can let go of it for the most part, but it is still kind of a bit of a holdback for me. But yeah, let me guys think about this one. Follow me on TikTok, of course, Twitter, Instagram. TikTok for as long as it's here anyway. I don't know what the fuck's going on with that either. But yeah, peace.